Today, I'll be reacting to the greatest all-around player, Larry Bird. So let's go right into the video. Let's get it.
The greatest all-around player of all time. What does this mean exactly? When we're talking about this subject, I think most people mean it in terms of a variety of elite abilities. Is he a top scorer, a top passer, a top rebounder, a top defender, and so on? Usually, when this debate comes up, you'll hear two players get mentioned quite a bit: LeBron James and Michael Jordan.
My personal opinion, I think LeBron James is the greatest all-around player in NBA history. Of course, other players, like he said, Michael Jordan, I could think of Magic Johnson. Larry Bird is definitely in that conversation, though. But I think the greatest all-around player ever, though, is LeBron, though.
Here two players get mentioned quite a bit: LeBron James and Michael Jordan. Let me make this clear. This video is not intended to be a criticism against either of those players. Both Jordan and LeBron are immensely talented in a variety of ways, and each of those players have a legitimate argument for that title. But the thing is, I think Larry Bird's case is just as strong, but for some reason, he's almost never given that same level of recognition on this particular topic. Now let me break down the main reasons why I think Bird's case is so strong. For one, Larry Bird has no weaknesses in his game. Think about how rare that actually is.
That is a fair point. I agree. Larry Bird don't have any weaknesses in his game. In my opinion, the worst thing you could say about Larry Bird is probably he wasn't the greatest defender, but he wasn't bad though. He was decent.
Why I think Bird's case is so strong. For one, Larry Bird has no weaknesses in his game. Think about how rare that actually is, even when considering some of the GOAT candidates. It can be argued that Michael Jordan's weakness was his three-point shooting, especially earlier in his career. LeBron James is a below-average free throw shooter. Magic Johnson wasn't a great defensive player. Wilt Chamberlain and Shaquille O'Neal were terrible free throw shooters. In several seasons, Kobe Bryant wasn't very efficient from the field, and Bill Russell was a very limited scorer. On the other hand, Larry Bird was an elite scorer overall. He was tremendously efficient from the field, from three-point range, and from the free throw line. He was an elite rebounder, especially considering his position. He was an elite passer, he was a clutch performer, and he was an NBA All-Defender. I challenge you to find one thing that Larry Bird wasn't good at. The other major reason is Larry was arguably a top 10 player of all time in several major categories. First off, scoring.
He is making a point. He is making a great case for Larry Bird. I'll give him that. Larry Bird don't have weaknesses in his game. I give him that.
The other major reason is Larry was arguably a top 10 player of all time in several major categories. First off, scoring. When you consider the greatest scorers in NBA history and factor in a player's scoring efficiency, Larry Bird simply has to be in that conversation. He had a career scoring average of 24.3, which is only slightly behind the career scoring average of Kobe Bryant. He also has the second most 50-40-90 seasons in NBA history, trailing only Steve Nash. And Nash was never the 25 to 30 points per game player that Bird usually was. Over a 5-year stretch, from 1985 to 1989, Larry Bird averaged 28 points on 50-40-90 percentages.
Oh my goodness! No. That's over a 4-year stretch? That is insane. That man over a 4-year stretch, 28 points a game, 52% shooting, 41% from three, and 90% from the free throw line, and pretty much a 60% true shooting percentage. That is crazy. Larry Bird is a beast. Oh my goodness.
Larry Bird averaged 28 points on 50-40-90 percentages. That level of sustained scoring efficiency is basically unmatched by the rest of NBA history. So again, he's arguably a top 10 scorer of all time. He's also arguably a top 10 rebounder in NBA history, when you consider the position he played. According to StatMuse, among small forwards, Bird has the 4th highest rebounds per game average in NBA history.
Oh yeah, for his position, no doubt, Larry Bird was he was an elite rebounder for his position. Well, as you can see right here, he averaged 10 rebounds per game for his career, so he was a great rebounder in general.
When you consider the position he played. According to StatMuse, among small forwards, Bird has the 4th highest rebounds per game average in NBA history at 10.1. The thing is, every other player in the top 8 spots all played in the 1960s, which was easily the most inflated rebounding era in the game's history, and that was due to lower field goal percentages and a faster pace of play. The closest small forward to Larry Bird in rebounds per game who didn't play in the 1960s was Shawn Marion, who wasn't even close to Larry's numbers. He was able to accomplish this thanks to his 6'9" frame, thanks to his all-out play style, and because of his intelligence on the court. In clutch situations, he dominated the boards to an even greater extent. For goodness sake, in the 1984 NBA Finals, Bird averaged 14 rebounds per game over the course of the series.
Oh my goodness, 14 rebounds per game at the small forward position? Oh yeah, I ain't gonna lie, he's making a great case. He's making a great case. I'm not gonna lie, bro, making a great case for Larry Bird being the greatest all-around player ever. He's making a great case. Man, 14 rebounds per game at the small forward position, especially in the NBA Finals, yeah, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous.
To an even greater extent. For goodness sake, in the 1984 NBA Finals, Bird averaged 14 rebounds per game over the course of the series, compared to the Lakers' Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who averaged 8.1. In the 1981 Finals, Bird averaged 15.3 rebounds, going toe-to-toe with the legendary rebounder Moses Malone. When you consider the era,
Man, yeah, Larry Bird the truth, yeah. Man, he really don't have any weaknesses. He really don't.
toe-to-toe with the legendary rebounder Moses Malone. When you consider the era and the position he played, Bird is not only a top 10 scorer of all time, but he's also a potential top 10 rebounder of all time. Then you have Bird as a passer. He had creativity and court vision that was very nearly on the level of the great Magic Johnson. At times, it looked as if Bird had eyes in the back of his head with some of the passes he was making. Among small
I saw that pass like a million times. That pass still is insane to me, though. I never saw this one. Wait, we're just gonna look at the passing highlights. We're just gonna go back. Look.
But he's also a potential top 10 rebounder of all time. Then you have Bird as a passer. He had creativity and court vision that was very nearly on the level of the great Magic Johnson. At times, it looked as if Bird had eyes in the back of his head with some of the passes he was making. Among small forwards, Larry has the 2nd highest assists per game average of all time, ahead of Scottie Pippen and trailing only LeBron James. But unlike LeBron James and Scottie Pippen, Bird's assists per game average actually increased in the postseason. When I recently did a video on the top 10 passers of all time, I had Bird as an honor.
Wait, hold on, we going back. Okay, they increased in the postseason, but LeBron still averaged more assists per game all time in the playoffs for small forwards.
Bird's assists per game average actually increased in the postseason. When I recently did a video on the top 10 passers of all time, I had Bird as an honorable mention. And good lord, that created a whole bunch of backlash in the comments section. For me, he's in the 11 to 13 range. But at the very least, we can all agree that he's arguably a top 10 passer. Beyond that, there's 3-point shooting. Bird.
Okay, he had him as an honorable mention. Now, I'm just gonna name 10 elite passers. This is not in order. This is like right at the top of my head. So, of course, LeBron, that's one. Magic, Stockton, Isaiah Thomas, Chris Paul, Steve Nash, Jason Kidd. Okay, that's 7. I don't know. Those are the only 7 I can think of right now. There's probably more. Honestly, he might be a top 10 passer all time. I ain't gonna lie. He might be a top 10 passer all time. Now, if I'm missing somebody, that's possibly a better passer than Larry Bird? Put that in the comments below. I'm very curious because so far them seven that just popped in my head. Them seven players. That's all I can think of as of right now.
The 11 to 13 range. But at the very least, we can all agree that he's arguably a top 10 passer. Beyond that, there's three-point shooting. Bird is tied for the most three-point contest victories in NBA history with a total of 3, which he won in consecutive seasons. In the 1980s, he was regularly among the league leaders in both three-point percentage and in three-pointers attempted. He has every kind of three-point shot in his arsenal, as he could hit them while off balance, he could pull up in transition, and he could catch and shoot. Throw in the fact that he was one of the most clutch three-point shooters to ever live.
Oh my gosh, the cross to the one-legged three? Hold up, that play was insane.
Throw in the fact that he was one of the most clutch three-point shooters to ever live, and yeah, at the very least, Bird has an argument for being a top 10 three-point shooter. So to recap, he's arguably a top 10 scorer all time, a top 10 rebounder, a top 10 passer, and a top 10 three-point shooter. Now Bird is not a top 10 defensive player, but without a doubt in my mind, he's an extremely underrated defensive player. One thing he was known for was always giving his best energy and effort on the defensive end. You're going to be hard-pressed to find a substantial amount of footage of Bird being lazy on defense, as his blue-collar, grit-and-grind personality translated seamlessly to the court. Although
that's what I was saying, like, that's probably the worst part of Larry Bird game was his defense, but he wasn't even bad on defense. I think he made the all-defensive team 3 times, I think. Yeah, I think it was 3 times. So yeah, like, he wasn't, like, a great defender, but he wasn't bad either. Yeah, I'll just say he was good. I'll just say Larry Bird was a good defender. I wouldn't say he was, like, elite, but he was good.
Underrated defensive player. One thing he was known for was always giving his best energy and effort on the defensive end. You're going to be hard-pressed to find a substantial amount of footage of Bird being lazy on defense, as his blue-collar, grit-and-grind personality translated seamlessly to the court. Although he wasn't the fastest player on the court, he was extremely quick with his hands, as Bird was regularly among the league leaders in steals per game, as he averaged 1.7 over the course of his career. He was also an above-average shot blocker for his position, as he averaged 0.84 over the course of his career, which is actually a higher blocks per game average than proven defensive small forwards like LeBron James and Kawhi Leonard. Bird has 3 All-Defense Team selections on his resume, and even finished as high as 3rd overall in the Defensive Player of the Year rankings in 1983. If it wasn't for his humility, he would likely be the NBA's record holder for the most steals in a single game, seeing how he got a total of 9 in only 3 quarters against the Utah Jazz in 1985.
Great. No, the steals is great. But hold up. That man had 30 points, 12 rebounds, 10 assists, 9 steals, and shot 13 of 22 from the field in 33 minutes. Well, brother could have stayed in the game longer to get that 1 steal. Come on. I would have let him get that 1 steal. Come on. A quadruple-double. Well, almost a quadruple-double in 33 minutes. That's insane. That's insane.
The NBA's record holder for the most steals in a single game, seeing how he got a total of 9 in only 3 quarters against the Utah Jazz in 1985. Despite sitting out the 4th, Bird was just 1 steal shy of the illustrious quadruple-double. I promise, I'm not trying to convince you that he was basically Dennis Rodman on the defensive end. But at the very least, Bird was an elite defensive player who usually isn't recognized as such by modern fans. Again, to sum this all up, Larry Legend had basically no weakness in his game, while being top tier in many different aspects of the game. This is why I believe he has a formidable case for being the most complete basketball player in NBA history. There are some other candidates that I would consider as well. Guys like Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kevin Durant, and Hakeem Olajuwon. But at the end of the day, when all things are considered, Bird might just be my ultimate choice. So what do you guys think? Who's the most complete basketball player of all time? I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comments section below. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Shout out to Johnny Arnett for that great video. Like I said multiple times in the video, I think LeBron is the greatest all-around player in NBA history. I definitely think Larry Bird top 5 though. Let me just think of 5 players right now. LeBron, of course. I guess I'll say MJ, Magic, Bird. I might put Scottie Pippen at top 5 greatest all-around players ever too. There's one guy I think he probably top 10 greatest all around. Like Nikola Jokic, he have a case of being top 10, but also in my opinion with Nikola Jokic, he's not the greatest defender either. But regarding Larry Bird, I definitely think he's a top 5 all around player in NBA history. So drop down in the comments below your thoughts about this video, your thoughts about Larry Bird. Do you think he's the greatest all around player in NBA history? Furthermore, like and subscribe. Also hit that notification bell so you won't miss another video from me. And I hope everyone have a blessed day. I'm out.